points lower than what they have there. And well, there's other things I can do. I'm really, probably over time here. What do we got here as far as time goes?
Give it another 5.
Okay, 5 minutes. Okay, good. Wow, 5 minutes. I'm going to really condense this here. So let's see here. So just based upon that, well, I'm just going to go right through there. And I guess it's better to over prepare, right? Let's get back to the story that's, I think, relevant today, taking some of the things that I just talked about here. You go out to the store and you get this credit card for 10% discount from Crozier. You pay great, I've got my 10%, but you're in the middle of doing this refinance. And your score was 760, now it's 65, or maybe even 760. So you're right on that borderline there. And then you get this, so right off the bat, just by getting and pulling that, you're going to have about a maybe 3 to 5 point drop. That puts you into the next category down. Generally speaking, that would cost an additional, not always, but most of the time, another quarter point in fee. So if you're refinancing $500,000, a quarter point in fee on $500,000 is a quarter of 5,000. 5,000 is 1 point. A quarter, that's $1,250. That was a pretty expensive 10% discount on a $200 item. So you need to be thinking ahead. Now, if you're at a lower score and you get below a certain number, you're out of the box. You can't get financing even if you wanted to pay $1 trillion. You know, well, then you wouldn't have to need a loan. But you get the point that it could knock you into being able to not get financing at all. And so heaven forbid that you're actually trying to purchase a house and you've got people moving and the moving vans coming and all those kinds of things happening there, and then this happens here. So my best advice there is do not do anything related to your credit until you talk to your loan officer about what you're about to do in any regard, because it could affect your score, it could affect you being able to get the house, be able to get the loan, and at what price you're going to get it at, and it can happen just that quick. Because every mortgage lender has to pull another credit score right before they close on that loan, right before they fund it. They have to find out, did you do any of these things that I'm talking about? Did you get more financing? It's not a matter of being a negative thing that you got more financing. It's a matter of, did you now get a payment that now is going to put you over your debt to income ratio, and you're not going to qualify that, you know, so they have to add whatever new credit you did get, if any, into the credit. So there's many aspects that go on there. So believe me, there is just a ton more that I can explain. I hope that I've touched on some points that trigger something in your mind. I will, if we have time, we'll do question and answers right now. I'll certainly talk to people later on, one-on-one, that kind of thing, and answer questions. I love what I do in that regard, and I know that there's, every time that I've ever kind of talked about these in a group setting, that there's just a zillion and one questions, because as many people as out here as how many different scenarios that there really are. So I'm willing to do that. I appreciate the time to be able to do this.
We can take 2 or 3 questions.
2 or 3 questions, okay.
Don, how does those people who pay their credit off every month, how does that affect the rating?
That's fine. You can have on your revolving cards up to 30%, 35% balance to limit and have a very good score. That's what they're looking for. Anything below that, maybe 40%, but you know, 33% is a number that I like to use. Now, when you get new credit, by the way, it will lower your score immediately for maybe the next 6 months. But what you need to do there is that you need to you need to use the card. So in other words, if you have 4 cards, but you're only using one, and you did not use any of the other ones in a 6-month period, those do not reflect positively on your score. They need to see usage of that. So what I always tell people is, look, go out and buy a pair of socks, and for $10 or whatever, on a different card, once every 6 months. Something that you need to do, and just then pay that off. And still you can use your best or favorite card for your normal purchases, that kind of thing. But don't have your normal card, if at all possible, go above that 33 to 35%. Use different cards and balance them out that way.
Second question, it relates to what you just said. If you have a card that you're not using, are you better off to use it every once in a while or to cancel it at some point.
Do not cancel it, because you're then going to get into the longevity. If you've had it a long time, it now shortens your time period, and the length of time you've had credit history is also going to be a determining factor in your score. And if you just use it, it has to be used for something, $1, once every 6 months. That's really all that it is.
If you have 6, 7 cards and you're only using 3 or 4 of them, and you just have these other cards, they're just dormant, is that a negative? Should you eliminate at some point some of those cards?
It's not really a negative. And here, well, I'll go back to what I was saying to Dean there, that I wouldn't, if you got, let's say, 6 or 7, that's still fine. The prime number they're saying is to have a minimum of 4 as far as trade lines, but really no more than about 6 to 7. Okay, if you got 9 or 10, then you might want to take some of them and cut them, but I wouldn't take the ones that have the most longevity and cut those.
What would you say for someone who is, just graduated from high school, needs to start building their credit? What would be the best thing for them to do to build the credit?
Don't do it. No, what would be the best thing to do? The main thing is, everybody, when you go and open up a checking account, you're going to get an ATM, Visa, MasterCard, ATM thing. So just the key, I think, with people with credit is, that, especially with young people, is that to realize that when they put something on credit, they actually have to pay it back. Anybody have kids, teenagers? Believe me, I've been there, done that. And so you want them maybe getting that card and getting them to use it on a regular basis, because it's going to come right out of their checking account anyways. But they need to see that cause and effect kind of thing. And then they can apply at that same bank. Maybe for a Visa card, especially if they're going out to school, you can add them as a joint to one of your cards. Now, if you add them as an authorized signator, so that they really do not have any liability for that card, it's not going to give them any score. It used to, but lenders are too wise in that now. So authorized signator doesn't count. So maybe just open up a joint account with them, so you have some sort of say and control, and then do that there. If they've got, let's say they're going to buy a car, maybe you can go on co-signing, or they can buy a car, even if they're going to pay it off, but maybe have that financing for a year. Maybe you can work out a deal that you can get some, same as cash for a short period of time. If you can get them having an installment debt, but you already have the cash set aside to pay it, then that's another story. I got caught in a trap with my own daughter. Went to college, and she left early, and the roommates that were there were left to close out everything. And I had signed which you probably should never do, and I wasn't listening to my own word of wisdom, signing on for them to get into the room, and they were renting and everything in the house. And so when they all left, according to the landlord, that it was really a disaster, and they had whatever it was, $250 worth of damage that they had to pay. Well, I never knew about anything. All of a sudden, I'm going to refinance my house, whatever it was, already a year out of school that she was, and it comes up as a collection account on my own record. Okay, now, this is a good point, because I then immediately called the collection account. Now, most of the time, you're not going to get those kind of things removed, because if you want to up your score, you cannot just say that this collection account was paid in full and that's going to increase your score. No. You have to have it deleted if you want it to improve your score. It has to be that it did not exist. Now, it can be done even though the attorneys or the collection account or the original creditor you had says that they can't and won't do that. It's against the Bureau rules. Okay, that's incorrect, because it's up to them to say whether or not this was legitimate or not, and who's for some other court to say it was legitimate. If you were saying that it's legitimate, that should not have been on there. It's a very subjective term, legitimate. Okay, so what I did is now sometimes you got to beat them over the head on the phone that you are not going away and you're going to get this thing removed, and of course you're going to have to pay it, because that's the stick. Do not pay off a collection account and try to go back to them and try to get it deleted. It won't happen. There's no reason for them to do it. It's like, leave me alone kind of thing. Well, you weren't leaving me alone when you were calling me all the times for this collection. But anyways, that's the key there, is you can get those things removed. And what I did is I paid I said, look, I don't care about any of the other people, my daughter and myself, who will have this removed. I'll pay you the whole $250, even though we don't, should not have to pay it. You cannot stand on ceremony. You gotta pick, where is your value? Is it that you don't owe that, and so on ceremony and on your ego, you're gonna not pay that? Or you want the credit? So so I got that done, and I had to do the proverbial, I'll send you a letter showing you that I'm gonna pay you that money. You're gonna send me a letter saying that it's gonna be deleted, not show paid in full, but deleted from my account. We did that exchange, I sent the money and it came off. So that's now, we have there's industries that are credit repair people that will do those kind of things for you because it's kind of a full-time job doing those things. But, and you gotta be careful because you have to be with somebody that's the reputation is their reputable company, so you have to be careful on that. The other thing is, do not, whatever you do before you, especially if you're gonna do a mortgage loan, do not pay off a collection account. And I think I mentioned this last week in a little bit of the promo, but the key is that if you have a collection account, and it doesn't matter if it's a $50 copay that you thought the medical company was supposed to be paying for you, or it was $50,000 that went to collection agencies or something else. It doesn't matter the dollar amount. You have a collection account on your report, it will have the same effect, no matter what the dollar amount is. If you have it on there and you then try to pay it off right before you go to get a loan, because people think, well, I'm going to go talk to this loan officer now, I want to buy this house over there. I don't want to be embarrassed that I owe this stupid $50 on here. I'll pay it off right now and get it over with, and then it'll all be good.